Where do we find wisdom? All right, that is the question for number 119 on the list of the 144 fractal faculties of the Tree of Life. If you'd like to get a full listing of all of those 144 fractal faculties in abstract form for free, just put your name and email in the comment section and just mention that that's what you want, and I'll send that out to you. Also, you can get a brush up on your Tree of Life. If you watch my video called Tree of Life, an introduction, that will just kind of get you up to speed to be able to follow along on all 144 of these videos. If you like a little bit of a deeper dive into the Tree of Life, you can buy my book for 10 bucks. That's called the MASSTree, Reclaiming the Kabbalah from the Kabbalah. It's an introduction to the Tree of Life. It's about 65 pages or so. So it's a pretty quick read, but it gets into a little bit more, a lot more detail than, say, that introduction, that video, which is only 10 minutes long. All right, now today we're looking at number 119 on the list, and here's your Tree of Life. Now keep in mind that the tree is basically a map of our consciousness, and each one of the spheres located on the tree is an aspect of our consciousness, or a faculty of our consciousness, a potentiality of our consciousness. And there are 12 of them, numbered 10 through 0, and then also a thing here called the abyss. So that's a total of 12. So 12 different major faculties of consciousness. And today we're looking at number 2, second sphere. And the second sphere corresponds to our faculty of wisdom, or omniscience. Now, if you look at the top 3 here, these are our divine faculties. Third sphere is omnipotence, all-powerful. Second sphere is omniscience, all-knowing, or wisdom. And the first sphere is omnipresence, all present, all at once, eternally, everywhere at once. And so the second sphere is one of our divine faculties that has to do with wisdom. Now, omniscience is a little bit of a misnomer. Omniscience means all-knowing. And in the context of the Tree of Life, omniscience is more knowing everything that you need to know. It doesn't mean that you know what the square, what the diameter of the Andromeda galaxy is, or something like that. That's not within the ken of the human, family of needs at this point. But it is our ability to be able to solve all of our problems, to solve all the problems of other people, and to even anticipate our own problems so that we can avoid them before they even arise. So that is really what we're talking about when we're talking about wisdom. And the way that is approached is kind of the opposite of the way that we normally approach problems here at the A sphere, which is our logical thinking faculty, our concrete or superficial logical thinking faculty, where we take things and separate them into different categories or different boxes and differentiate them that way. And when we attempt to solve problems in that kind of syllogistic thinking, we subject ourselves to the Hydra problem, meaning that when we solve one problem, we accidentally create 2 problems in place, or at least one. And that is reflected in my number 34 on this list of the fractal faculties of the Tree of Life, number 34, called Unforeseen Consequences. That's the second fractal of the 8th sphere. but now we're looking really at the second sphere itself. And when we solve problems here through the wisdom faculty, we do it not through thinking, but through not thinking. By being able to calm the mind down to the point where all the waves and the ripples in the mind start to tamp down their amplitudes, and eventually the sea of the mind becomes calm, completely calm. And when it does that, the body of the sea of consciousness becomes transparent, just like a lake would. If it's completely calm, it becomes transparent. You can see all the way through to the bottom. When you see all the way through to the bottom, what you see is the higher self, or the omnipresence, that's at the center of everything. And it's at the center of our mind, all the way through the sea of unconscious or subconscious. And that image that we see in our mind here, we see this. This side of the tree here corresponds to visual faculties, and this side is auditory or hearing faculties. So we see this image of the higher self, and that image itself is the solution to our problem. And so that is how wisdom works. Now, that is a very high standard. To be able to calm the mind down to that point requires great training in meditation and a long periods of practice, maybe lifetimes worth of practice. And so it isn't really something that is available to mankind at large at this point. Very few people have that skill, and I'm not one of them either. So, in place of that, we have also what we call the surrogate elder, which is the sixth sphere, having to do with the free will actor, where if the free will actor has a question, a problem, they can consult the oracle, which is the surrogate wisdom faculty, or the divination system, which is a random chance generator that is calibrated to respond to the questioner. And the deck, the tarot deck, or whatever the divination system is, will give you will provide answers, solutions to the problems. But that also is subject to being able to interpret that language correctly, and then also to be able to put it into practice. So that is mostly how we deal with the second sphere, is indirectly through the sixth sphere. But if we aspire to, and we're able to calm the mind down to that point, then we are able to deal with our wisdom directly. And it isn't completely out of line. There are people who are able to shut the mind down for the 2-hour period or something like that, that would be needed to calm it down to the point where you can really see through it. Now, that second sphere is one of our 12 faculties of the tree of life. Now, how do we get from 12 faculties to 144 fractal faculties? What we're doing is taking the tree of life to a higher power, to the second power. And we do that by taking the whole tree, shrinking it down to size of one sphere, and applying it to each one of the 12 spheres. So we turn each one of the 12 into 12. So, there's a whole tree here. And so we're breaking down the seventh sphere into its 12 faculties, breaking down the fourth sphere into its 12 faculties, and likewise breaking down the second sphere into its 12 faculties. 12 plus 12 plus 12 plus 12, and so on, equals 144. So here at the second sphere, we can imagine a mini tree growing here at the second sphere. So the second sphere has a mini 10th sphere, a mini 9th sphere, a mini 8th sphere, and so on. And today, for number 119, what we're looking at is the mini first sphere within the second sphere. So as I mentioned before, the first sphere corresponds to omnipresence, all present everywhere at once, eternally. And that is really also the self, the higher self that resides at our deepest center, and that is at the deepest center of everything. And so that provides a unity in the universe, because what's at my deepest center is the same thing that's at your deepest center. And it's the same thing that's at everything's deepest center. And so we're all united through the first sphere. So the first sphere really corresponds to the all. Okay, so those are the two factors that are really at play here for number 119, which is called out of nowhere, or out of nowhere. Stage number 119 is about objects suddenly moving into our frequency range to be perceived. Or were they there all along and we just tuned them in now? Out of nowhere, the highest meaning of the second sphere is that the sage or the initiate increasingly sees that fundamental concepts only exist because of the inability to find the point through which they are found to be halves of a unit, or complementary reciprocals. The movement of halves takes place in time and space. Once we stay out of the content of our thoughts for long enough, we reach a balanced, equilibrating point, an equanimity, a homeostasis, a resonance. We see the universe of motion. We live in a universe of motion that sweeps the rug out from under the conventional reference system, out of nowhere. Unit motion is the boundary between the two halves of the universe, the balanced, equilibrating point. Time changing space and space changing time in perfect balance. Done right, it creates a bridge between the realms, the universe of motion, the boundary, the bridge between two complementary universes, one of space, one of time. This universe of motion is the access key to this boundary is the access key to the cosmic sector known as the Philosopher's Stone. Things appear out of nowhere. They suddenly appear in the reference system when they reach the time-space boundary. Our higher self, the indwelling intelligence, depends on the full awakening of ourselves. Awakening to the underlying motion, the universe of motion. Our deepest center is not still. It is moving at the speed of light in all directions. This motion called ether, that when considered in all sciences, all religions, and all philosophies, will furnish solutions to long-established problems. Omniscience means to know not all there is to know, but all that is needed to know to avoid and or solve problems. Not all there is, not all at once. Wisdom is not knowing everything, but to know how to avoid our problems and solve the problems of others. We know what we need to know when we need to know it. And this knowing comes out of nowhere, like intuition, learning to apply the universe of motion to problems. To know reality, thinking must be stilled. When we still our thinking, then we can notice the universe of motion. We must stay out of elaborating our thoughts and sensations with content. No building of stories, but stay on the sensate level and thereby penetrate reality. Be a disinterested spectator to the parade of thoughts. Be not so foolish as to go chasing our thoughts with our attention, turning them into stories, judgments, opinions, preferences, attractions and aversions, or fairness debates. Solutions to difficult problems are outside of the box. Our thinking is always inside the box, so it must be ignored to get to wisdom. The universe of motion itself is the box. From within, or non-local, learning from within intuition, or complex revelation, comes from a location in time, but time has no location in space. No location, or out of nowhere, from all directions, or none. Scalar, non-local. So it looks like it is coming from out of nowhere. It is coming across the border, the unit speed of the universe of motion, across the unit space boundary from the time region. All oracles and divination systems are based on this equation, and so the sage or wizard can bring one into the world out of nowhere. Okay, that is the first fractal of the second sphere, number 119 on the list of the 144 fractal faculties of the Tree of Life. It's called Out of Nowhere. And that is mostly reflecting the reciprocal system of theory from Dewey B. Larson, also the reciprocal system kind of revised theory from Dr. Bruce Perret and Dr. K.V.K. Nehru. And we'll talk more about all of that, especially this universe of motion, as we get around to talking about the reciprocal system. You're coming up fairly soon, before the end of the year. Otherwise, that's what we got for now. And again, if you'd like to get that free copy of my guide to the 144 fractal faculties of the Tree of Life, just put your email into the comment section and I'll send that off to you for free. If you'd like to buy my book, The MASSTree, which is an introduction to the Tree of Life, just send me $10 on Cash App or Venmo, and I will send you the book. Stay tuned for future videos coming up on this channel. Number 120 will be rolling out tomorrow. And so stay tuned for that. Keep an eye out for other videos also on this channel. And otherwise, have a great day. And we hope to see you soon.